back. Welcome to season 2 of Mic'd Up with AJ and TJ. I'm your host, AJ, and I got my amazing co-host, TJ. What's going on, girl? How are you?
Life is good. Life is amazing. It's finally the weekend when we're filming this, so hopefully all of you are having an amazing weekend whenever you're listening to this. And yes, as AJ said, we are back, season 2. Hopefully you guys enjoyed season 1. You can absolutely check out all of the previous episodes either on Instagram or on YouTube, on the On My Feet platforms in themselves. And you can also always check that out in the App Store, iOS, or Google Play Store.
Yes, indeed. And it's been a crazy week in releases, and people are still fighting over sneakers, like fist fights.
2020.
And yeah, and this goes back all the way to, I would say, as far back as I remember, is the pigeon dunks in New York. So today's episode, we're gonna focus on the violence behind, sneaker releases. Is it really worth it? Like, is it really worth getting in fights over sneakers? So
Correct.
and especially being 2021, and I understand there's not too many sneakers that drop. I mean, there are sneakers that drop, but I'm talking about quantity wise. But like, is it really worth getting into a fight, catching a charge, going to court for some $100 sneakers,
And
max $200?
yeah, and I think we have to look beyond that too, because what we'll see is just the end result, right? We see what becomes of the situation. We see the fight, we see that recorded, but very rarely do we see everything else that leads up to it. And I think that plays a really big part. I think we have to take that all the way into context, because I think it paints a more clear picture of how these things occur. I think you have to take everything again into account, whether it's the situation, standing in line for the sneakers, what's going on in the world at the moment. So I think we can touch on all of that. And just for inspiration for this, definitely shout out to Sniper Jones,
Snipe Squad.
Squad, because he touched on this subject. I was able to tune into his recent video and some very awesome, very insightful points by Snipe. And so just kind of want to continue that conversation and expound on that, because like AJ said, yeah, this goes back. Like, this isn't something new. It's not a breaking phenomenon that's occurred, right? And this is just period. When emotions are high, people can react, and the way you tend to react can definitely be physical. It can be you lashing out at another individual, so it's not unheard of.
Yeah.
But I just think it's a tired storyline for the sneaker community at this point, especially in 2021, because like you said, the Pigeon Dunk that released, and that was a botched release from the start, not because of the store, because of the chaos that ensued for the actual release. Like, you remember, cops were
Yeah.
there.
It was crazy because, it, like you said, yeah, it wasn't the store. They did what they had to do. It was the resellers that were outside, and we were still all young. And to see, not, of course, not being there, but to like see it, like, the news and stuff, and that was something crazy. Police officers were called, and they had to walk the people from the store to their cars, or close to their cars.
Yeah.
um and from what, there's actually a documentary that they did, like, about it. I think actually, wasn't on sneakers. They did that whole little, the dunk.
That might have been part of the, I'm not sure if it was part of the history of dunks or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember, listen, it was, so these instances where fights broke out for camp outs or people being in line. This was the reason I wasn't allowed to. Thanks to these, mom was like, no, it's not happening. Listen, you either get the shoe by being able to walk in store without all of this, or it's just not happening. And I get that, right? Like, there's always a different concern for women if you're choosing to either camp out or wait in line for really highly anticipated release, because you may be at the mercy of people that are just going to try and push you around because you're a woman. So you're often, we're often smaller than our male counterparts, and so they may try to take advantage of that, bully us out of our spots, or any number of things. And so you have to be aware of that. And as a woman, I guess that was just something I was like, listen, not about to risk it, don't need the hassle. But it happens for men, right? Like, a lot of these altercations that are occurring, it's men getting into it. And I think it usually will center around a big shoe release. Now we're used to seeing this for like the Concord 11s, right? 2011 shattered the mold for what we thought
Mhm.
we knew about sneaker releases, and then we switched over to apps, and that was just a safer way. I think stores were trying to really mitigate the liability they would face if, fights and someone being trampled and everything would occur at your release. So you fast forward to today and you think this can't be still happening, right? First off, what store a lot of stores aren't even open. A lot of stores don't get stock there within the
Mhm.
actual vicinity of us being able to walk in and get it. And then you have COVID. So those measures play a part with you. You're supposed to distance yourself and not really be in anyone's personal space. That didn't happen recently.
See, that's what I'm trying to figure out with there's multiple fights that happened over some sneakers, but I'm like, where is the social distancing? Where I mean, of course, I know if it's a limited shoe, they're not really gonna care about it, but geez, the people trampling over people and then there's, fights going on, like, come on now,
Yeah,
but
it's and so the one that is fresh in my mind, it's the footage that was shown on Nice Kicks
Mhm.
where this was in New York and it was over a dunk release. Now we know that dunks have hit the stage of hype the same way as coveted retros, right? Like no,
Yep.
there's people that were all about, dunks in the past, like heavily collecting dunks in the past, like yourself and a lot of other people in this community. So dunks have always been something that people have gone after, but now it's not even just quote unquote, I guess, a dunk head or somebody really into dunks. Now it's just even the casual person into sneakers may want the dunk, and I get it. It's simplistic. The color blocking is always on point. There are a lot of times fun and great stories that go along with dunks. So I'm not mad about you just wanting to get into dunks. By all means, there shouldn't be gatekeeping of you wanting to
Yeah.
get into a shoe because that's what it's there for, to entice you, to draw you in. But now you have the casual people that are into dunks, the people that have always been into dunks, the people that just want them for the hype, and then the people that are there to flip them. So there is a monetary aspect in this, right? Because dunks are a low buy-in, since we're using that as an example. That's a low buy-in. You have a pretty low
Mhm.
floor to get in if you're trying to resell it. So if you're buying it for $100, all you have to do is pay maybe tax on that or even shipping if you're having to buy it online, and you get that in, and then you look at the secondary market. Oh my god, this dunk is going for 500, 600, seven hundred
Mhm.
dollars Even a single flip on that might net you $500 after fees and shipping. So I understand now someone's possible financial gain is on the line. So when these fights occur, I think Snipe made a really good point. Take everything into context. Is it always about the shoe? Is it more about the principle of what may have occurred before we saw the fight break out, right? Like take it all into context. You're there, you have to be there early. Weather does play a part. Now you spent your time, right? We're never getting
Yeah.
back time. Time is finite for us. We die at some point. Time is finite. So now I've spent my time in line for however long. Maybe it's 5 a.m. in the morning and store's gonna open at 10. So I've been sitting here for 5 hours. And now you come up in a very disrespectful manner and you take my spot. First off, I'm never getting those 5 hours back, and now you feel entitled to take my spot because you believe it matters more to you. Your need to have this shoe matters more than my need to have
Mm.
this shoe. You don't know why I'm in line for the shoe. I don't know why you're in line for the shoe, but the point is now you've disrespected me on a level that doesn't have anything to do with shoes. I could be
Yeah.
standing in line for food, a game console, sneakers, doesn't matter. I could be standing in line to go register for something, doesn't matter. Now you've disrespected me
Yeah.
and my time has been disrespected. So I think that is it's the perfect scenario for a fight to break out.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe one reseller doesn't like the other one. It's because believe it or not, sneaker resellers is pretty much like gangs.
They
I
know.
take I take care of this area, you take care of that area, stay out of my hood, I'll stay out of your hood. I mean, it might be funny, but hey, if you look at it, a lot of those things happen. And like going back to what TJ said, like about her, she would, be able to walk into the store, otherwise you can't go. Earlier, earlier in the years, early 2000s, in Chicago, believe it or not, it wasn't as bad as people think. Like you can walk into a finish line, Foot Locker, pick up bread ones. I mean bread ones, Concords, or you can pick up bread 11s, no problem.
No
But
fight, no nothing.
nothing. And it just depends on where you go because Chicago, even now, like, now they're sending them into certain malls, get them. Back then, it was everywhere in Chicago. So I'm, from the suburbs of Chicago. So it'd be like, okay, I can go to this mall, they would have it. Go here, they would have it. And again, it was not like on some resale stuff. It'd be like, I can go buy my size.
Yeah.
And as it came for, um, I was actually telling TJ this, and this, when we used to camp out, it was to camp out for us. I'll give you an example. TJ, I don't know if you remember the Chamber of Fear Air Force Ones that came out for LeBron's. It was
Yeah.
like like few, few cities like that. At Chicago. I mean, Chicago, Cleveland. So anywhere the Chicago one came out, it was that suede gray. I remember suede gray, the baby blue, pretty much like Chicago-ish colors.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, cool. We'll go wait out. It was December, freezing cold. I'm talking about, if y'all don't know Chicago, just look at your news right now. We got
It's a different kind of cold.
14 inches of snow last weekend. This on Sunday, we're getting an additional 4 inches. Like, we have no room to put snow. Like, literally, we have no room to put snow. So anyway, it was no snow. It was just cold, right? A little bit of rain, whatever. We just lined up. We waited 19 hours. And this is before we knew better. I'm just like, 19 hours, what the hell? But again, at the end of the day, it was a fire shoe.
It's an all nighter.
We got it for $90. But it was like, hey, believe it or not, fun fact. In front of me and my brother, my cousin, was the guy named Chris. Or actually, was he behind us? Guys from New York. Believe it or not, guys from New York. This Chris wound up being the guy who pretty much started Flight Club in New York, the first location. I
That's
guess same guy who was on, I believe, Oprah, or you'll see if you type in Chris from Flight Club, you'll see what I mean. Like,
okay.
that was the guy, and this is before Flight Club was Flight Club. It was just like, yo, we're opening a store. It's gonna have blah blah blah. Anyway, cool people, and we're just like, all right, we would take turns going to the bathroom because nobody would jump in you in line. Be like, oh, we got you. Like, hey man, you guys need anything? No, we good. It'd be points like, yo, our car is right there. Oh, go take a nap. We got your spot. Like, that's how it used to be. It'd be like
There was actual community
respect.
to make sure everybody
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
the same chance.
So now I just feel like you even step to the side, be like, boom, it's my spot.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
it's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. It's not the same now. Like people could leave back then I know you could like leave a chair and people would respect that list. That's not gonna be done now. I just don't think, and I don't think it'll be done now because I think we also have to take into account how difficult sneakers are to actually get in hand. And then also, look at the economy right now. It's not okay for everybody, right? Like
yeah.
you and I are very fortunate and very blessed to where we weren't heavily affected, by COVID, by the pandemic. We have streams of income that are still maintained and we're able to take care of ourselves, but that's not everybody. So some people have moved to a different means of being able to provide. And maybe now reselling is one of those ways because it is a legal means to
Yeah.
earn as long as you're reporting the income and you're paying your taxes, it's a legal way to earn money. So if you're able to secure a couple pairs, let's just say even 3 pairs, okay? 3 pairs of dunks if they're releasing, you're paying $300 if we're not even factoring in tax. But if each pair is selling for 600, 700, let's just say
100.
700. So you've essentially made what, a $600 profit on each pair. So
Mm-hmm.
now you're looking at $1,800. Okay, that's a decent amount of income to come in, especially if you need to take care of yourself. You need to pay bills, you need to put
Yeah.
food on the table, you have kids. So I understand the magnitude of why somebody would be upset if now that opportunity for you to make that money, it is gone. Now, it's never been guaranteed to you. Just because you stand in line for a shoe, we get it. It doesn't mean you're going to get the shoe.
Yeah.
Now someone's jumped you. So now that's lessened your chance to be able to get the shoe, lessened your chance to possibly get money. And listen, all of that into account, tensions are high. You're cold. You've been waiting outside in this weather right now.
Yeah.
Disrespect it. Your time is wasted. I think that's when it all comes to a head because, Snipe made a good point. He's like, as a grown man, there's only so much you will take, right?
Yeah.
There's only so much you will take in terms of someone just publicly disrespecting you. At that point, it's not even about the shoe. It may be about your manhood. So it may be about ego. Now, my thing is, for ego, do you have to weigh, is it worth it?
Mm.
Right? Is it worth it then? Oh, I'm gonna defend my my manhood, my dignity. Okay, what if they file a charge though now? So then you are
Or fists could turn into guns.
can turn into guns because think about it. Someone who I'm gonna just be honest with you. Someone that is an asshole enough to just come jump in front of you, take your spot, disrespect you. Do you think they care about fighting fair? Do you think they
Uh,
care about having a one-on-one matchup? We square up, we go at it, or do you think it wouldn't be beneath them? Probably not. To have friends jump in, to have a knife, to have a gun. So now we're looking at this could be a fatal interaction for you because you're upset and you want to get out your frustration on this person.
yeah, it's, I just look at it like it's are sneakers worth it?
No, I will never forget. I was still young. I think I was 10 or 11 maybe. And it was actually a member of my church growing up. He was older than me. Just great student athlete, great kid. He was in ROTC. Mom took, extremely good care of him, made sure he always had nice things. He was a great student, so why wouldn't your parent, spoil you? And I remember, do you remember when the Sherpa jackets like were the thing?
Yeah.
Shirling jackets with the
Mhm.
fur, you had the leather. Okay, so he had this jacket really, really nice. Mom bought him brand new Timberland boots. So he's ready for the winter. And he was robbed for that. And of course, he just didn't want to give it up. And I think he was with his cousin at the time when he was robbed and he came back home and he's frustrated, he's mad, he's upset. And, his mom just had to stress to him, I can go out and buy you another coat.
Mm.
I can buy you another pair of boots. What I can't do is buy another you.
Yeah.
Like, don't ever get so caught up in a thing that you're willing to risk your safety or your well-being over it. Let it go. Whatever someone wants to take from you, let it go.
Yeah.
And I think we have to keep that in mind. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend at all I wouldn't be highly pissed off, upset, like, how dare you jump in front of me? All of these things, I would be all of those, and I would feel justified in it. But would it be worth it? Because I don't know what that person has in mind. I don't know how far they're willing to take it.
Yeah.
And you have to keep that in mind. We don't ever know. It's the same thing right online when you try something funny or stupid, you think it's a prank or haha, it's funny. You don't know how far somebody else is
Yeah.
willing to take it.
Yeah.
So you think, oh, it's okay, it's not that big of a deal, and then they take it 4, 5, 6 steps farther than you ever thought it would go. And now what? You can't always turn back once something's
No.
happened. So this would just be me. Unfortunately, it would be really terrible to deal with, but I'm not risking my life over shoes. I'm sorry. I'm not.
I just feel that all these companies have seen over the whole, COVID time that hey, we didn't have in-store releases and whatever, it worked. If this stuff keeps happening, they might just stop in-store releases permanently
Yeah.
because this is not only is this liability on them, like if something happens outside of their store, I mean, yeah, it happened outside, but they'd probably be like, well, you guys had this release or you guys had this line. So it could get to the point where they just stop that. And I feel that's what's going to really mess with some of these resellers. I mean, honestly, even over COVID, like I think the resale game was higher than it's ever been, but do you think that could possibly happen?
I think it can, and I'll say this because some smaller markets are not even getting releases the way they used to.
Yeah.
So for certain markets, shoes are pushed back to not even receive them on release day. They arrive after release day, which don't get me wrong, that's not the worst thing for it to happen because guess what? There's not a lot of commotion. There's no line lined up outside because you're not getting it on, let's say, a Saturday anticipated release. You're getting it during the week where
Mm,
people come in and they're able to get their pair and they get the number of pairs they need, right? For myself or my kid or my two kids or something, and they go about their business. So that's not always the worst thing for it to happen, but I think to limit liability, absolutely stores will do that. Now I'll say this, I think it's the opposite though. I don't think it's the resellers that will be hurt by this because resellers, if they're successful, it's because their relationships are still there. They're still gonna find a way, right?
yeah.
persistent and diligent if you want to be a successful reseller. So I
Yeah.
think they will still find a way. Who will suffer more will be the average consumer who just wants this shoe to have. The
Mhm.
average consumer at this point, we used to be the people that tried to buy two pairs. One pair was just a flip and to cover the cost of my pair out of pocket. That's not the case anymore. Now we're just trying to buy our pair to buy our pair. Like at this point, you're not even trying to double up anymore.
People don't even wear sneakers anymore.
Get one pair just to wear. You're just
Honestly, yeah.
think if it gets to the point where, you know, think about it, like Nike has already revamped so much. They are ready for this entire digital era to
Mhm.
be what they're about. They can do this at scale online. So I think we've already seen them kind of shift more, like less in store, try to improve the online experience. Not necessarily sneakers, but try to improve the online experience for people overall. So I think they could go more online and all it would do is just raise the frustration more for the amount of L's that you take. And I get it. I'm a weird individual. Like some people may take my indifference
Yeah.
to L's or lack of emotion towards them as like, oh, you don't really care. No, I can't see myself expending energy on things I can't control. I can't control the fact that I will take L after L on Sneakers app. I can't even enter raffles for like a certain banners brand. If I'm lucky or fortunate enough for friends that work at other, you know, retailers, maybe to come through for me, awesome. But I don't rely on them to do that because they
Mhm.
can't always do that. So you're going to end up taking L's. I can't let my entire weekend or experience as part of this be ruined. So I move on to the next shoe. Or for me, I move on to the next pair guy item that's going to drop. But for others, they don't. They're not moving on past it. Their frustration is just building and building and building. And so where does the breaking point happen,
Mhm.
right? Does the breaking point happen where most of everything moves online and then the average consumer can't get it, but they're so frustrated with resellers and paying a resale price they drop the demand. That's what has to happen, to be
Yeah.
honest. If people are tired of resale, you're tired of playing the resale game, having to turn to somebody, right? You are getting a shoe, but once you get the shoe, a lot of times you're like the second buyer, you're not the first buyer. So if all of that comes together in this perfect storm and buyers stop buying from resellers, okay, well, they're not going to hold the supply as long.
Yeah. So before we close it off, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Question for you. If you had a store,
Okay.
right? And I'm talking about, if TJ had a store, it'd be full. You'd have one wall sneakers, the other wall fear of God. I'm just saying that'd be her. So if you had a store and you had every single release that came out, we'll talk about. Let's go to tier zero. We're gonna take it that far. TJ
Okay.
has a tier zero account. With you being, where you've seen releases firsthand, hearing all these stories, what would you do different to prevent chaos?
To be honest with you, for you to have a orderly release, if it's in your budget, especially if you have a good relationship with local authorities, have a cop or two present. Especially if you know it's going to be a highly sought after release. The cop isn't necessarily there that something will happen or break out, but knowing that authorities are there, I
Mm.
think it changes the way some people might behave. You may not show up with the same intentions if you know authorities are sitting right there. So I think that's one thing that can help, right? When you go to a lot of events, there's still security there.
Yeah.
Right, if you go to certain, secret conventions, there's still security that's present or cops that are present walking around, so I don't think that's a bad thing to do, and notice that I said, like, actual authorities, not like mall cops,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. No
well,
Paul Blarts. No Paul Blarts.
actual authorities, like the police department
Yeah.
present, for that, but I think also, with COVID right now, the fact that you should have social distancing in
Yeah.
place, honestly, not allowing the whole lineup outside the store.
Yeah.
So this I know it's weird for us, but you may have to do away with the first come, first serve.
I
You
that
I, like, I don't think I
facts.
I don't think I would, because why would I put myself in that position to have to deal with the fallout? Why would I want to put customers that are trusting me enough to come shop with me? Why would I
Mhm.
want to put them in a situation where they may have to deal with a lot of nonsense or chaos or commotion? I don't want that. So I'd probably eliminate the first come first serve. Now, when it comes to raffles, I think there is a way. There's absolutely a way to do it as long as it's trusted. It's I think that would probably more so be the way that I would go. Have authorities there, and I think allowing only a certain number of people also in the
Yeah.
store at a time, I think that helps. You can also give
Yeah.
people reserve times. Like, why is that a bad thing? You pick a time when you can come here to this store and pick
You
up.
read my mind. You read my mind.
Here's a window. It's kind of like track, right? There are heats where you are up to run. There is a time window in which you need to come pick up these shoes. Guess what? If you can't come, you better have somebody come pick up these shoes at this time. But if I'm giving you 10 until 1, I advise you get here from 10 until 1.
Yeah.
And if you don't, and if you're not here by the end of the day, then the next individual up would be called and they have an opportunity to come get it. But I think doing it in heats would work. 10
Yeah.
until 1, 2 until 5, 6 until 9.
Or you could even do it like, for example, if you're a size 7 is from say 10 to 12. So if like when you, because the thing is, a lot of them online would be like, you put in your size.
Yeah.
Okay, you put in a size 7. Your time would be from 9 to 10, and then you can say, all right, if I'm a 8, it could be like 30-minute increments. So like you don't know people are showing up as resellers, but like, well, sorry, that's like that's it.
Listen, what time did you walk in here? Yeah, we're only serving this.
Yeah,
We're only serving 8s, only serving 9. So I think that could work because no matter what, like if you went for your size to wear and you have that, then you don't care. Like you're gonna go
yeah,
that it works. But I think, yeah, you got to eliminate the first come first serve. I think having time blocks in place of when people are showing up, because that means for sure there should only be a certain amount of traffic now that is coming into that store.
yeah,
Like if I'm only allowing, let's say you have a total of, I don't know if it's a certain location, let's just say you have 300 pairs, but I've broken that up. Okay, in a 3-hour time window, I should only have 100 people in
yeah.
at any time. That's it. That's all I should have. So I think that's more reasonable. Now you're not dealing with all these people lined up outside your store and different things like that. Nuh-uh, not happening.
Well, there you have it, guys. Season 2, we start off with a bang, and
Unfortunately, bang, no pun intended.
yeah, no pun intended. But with that being said, thank you for watching Mic'd Up with AJ and TJ. Don't forget to download the On My Feet app on the Android and Apple Marketplace. TJ, any final words?
Listen, people, just always keep the bigger picture in mind, okay? As big of a part of our lives as sneakers may be, it's not life in itself. That's always more precious. So just remember that. You can always get another pair of shoes. Unfortunately, fighting charges and possibly being harmed is just not worth it.
Yeah. And as TJ says, act your age, not your shoe size.
Please stop acting 7 through 12. That's what a lot of you have been acting these days.
That's hilarious. I like that one. Next shirt merch coming soon. TJ's merch. TJ, when's your next merch coming out? The next drop?
I'm looking. Listen, February was really expensive for a lot of us. Okay, so I decided give it a break for February. The pre-ordered crew necks are still being processed as well, but maybe March or even April. We'll see. I got to make sure the crew necks start hitting first.
My two. I'm already set with my two, so I can't wait for that to come out. I got some shoes that I got to match him up with.
He's good, but yeah, probably late March or maybe early April.
All right, guys. With that being said, thank you again for watching and listening. Till next time, peace.